Hello everybody and welcome to the latest episode of Shipviews with me, Carburetor. Today we're going to be looking at the 7 provinces. I have moved my microphone. It's now a little bit further away from my computer, so I'm hoping to kind of drown out that buzzing noise. And I've actually ordered a new microphone that is supposed to be a lot better. So we'll see if that does any better. But anyway, onto the ship. The 7 Provinces is the latest Dockyard ship. Unfortunately, it is no longer available. And it is a Tier 8 premium Dutch cruiser. Now, Tier 8 is being kind of generous. I would call this a Tier 7.5 cruiser, if I'm being honest. The main battery is really not that good. You have 8, count them, 8 6-inch shells that reload in 6.5 seconds. Just for a little comparison, the Mines has 12 6-inch guns that reload in 6 seconds, and the Cleveland has 12 of its guns that reload in 6.5 seconds. So you really don't have the DPM of either of those ships, and you don't have the HE penetration of the German cruisers, and you don't have the lobbing shells of the American 6-inch shells. But this ship is very good. A couple of its attributes: it does have turrets, at least rear turrets. I don't know about the front turrets, but rear turrets that rotate a full 360 degrees. As you can see, we kind of just took a little bit of a bitch slap there. It does come with a heel, which is kind of nice. It's definitely not a unique trait at Tier 8, but it is a very helpful trait at Tier 8. What really makes this ship, though, is the airstrike consumable. Airstrikes, to me, a lot of people, I've heard them called free damage, which they definitely are, and I've heard them called basically nothing more than a gimmick, which I would almost agree with. They are kind of a gimmick. However, they're not necessarily a bad gimmick in my opinion, and they're not necessarily game-breaking. They're pretty easy to counter, and they're pretty easy to work around, but it depends on how you use them. I like to use the I like to use the airstrike of these ships more like an aerial denial system rather than as something to try and gain extra points in battle. What do I mean by that? You'll see a little bit later on when I use this, when I use the consumable to push ships out of positions and get them out from behind areas where I don't want them. Going through the lineup right quick, I'm just going to talk about commander skills, as there should be an image popping up right about now. The very first 10 points that I would take, this is subject to change, but the very first 10 points that I would take would be Grease the Gears, Priority Target, Adrenaline Rush, and Concealment Expert. If you have 14 points, which 14 points is not unheard of, I would then get Last Stand and Superintendent. Sorry, I'm so used to different words for different meanings nowadays. After that, it's kind of up to player choice. I have thought about getting the Focus Fire training, which says that it gives an airstrike armament reload time. I do not know if that affects the reload time of the actual airstrike consumable, though. That's something that I kind of have to play around with, and in 10.9, which I am now in, I can redistribute and I can find out for you guys. Another pretty neat trick with this ship is it actually has pretty decent armor. I would actually say the armor on this ship is perhaps the most trolly out of any Tier 8 ship. You can see I took a couple of pretty good hits there, but a lot of hits that would have like nuked the Cleveland, I pretty much just shook off and just continued rolling with it. Now, I did get nailed pretty hard there by the Edinburgh, but not to the point of death. I will say this, that the ship does have a few downsides with its airstrike. The airstrike, as compared to the check tree, is kind of small, and the reload, if I remember right, is a little bit longer than normal. It's definitely workable, but it's definitely not a huge swath of bomb drops. It's a very tight grouping, and that can make it very tricky. But one thing I want to point out is this is literally my second or third battle in this ship, and you're going to see probably one of the better games that I've ever had at a Tier 8 cruiser level. One other thing I just want to point out about this ship, I don't know if you've kind of noticed from the gameplay, but it's very, very difficult to kind of tuck behind mountains. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been several times where I've been tucked behind a mountain. I've thought I've had pretty good concealment, pretty good hiding behind the island, and it just hasn't been the case. I've been spotted even around the island. I think that's due to the extra large superstructure, but I could be mistaken. I do know that the concealment mechanics and the hiding mechanics of this this game can be a little wonky at times. Now I want you to look at what I just did there with the Buffalo, with the airstrike on the Buffalo. My goal with that airstrike is not to do damage. My goal is to push him out. Any damage I get extra is just that extra. You can see I started a fire there. It's going to burn for a little bit, but otherwise he's going to put it out and he's going to back up back into that corner. Now, I will say this. A lot of people were hating on this ship, and I really don't understand why. If you buy the pre-package, the pre-sale for the additional stages that you will need to get in the Dockyard event in order to get this ship, you're essentially paying 4,000 doubloons for this ship. 4,000 doubloons for this ship, I would definitely label as a good price. You are not getting ripped off there. And if you play the game as much as I do, completing the rest of the missions is relatively easily. It's not like the Anchorage where you had to grind like 12 hours a day in order to get this ship. If you play 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day, you can very easily get this. Now, as you can see here, I'm going to drop my airstrike again on the Buffalo, and my goal here is to try and kind of push the Buffalo out from behind this corner where he's at an advantage. Drop here, and boom, got another fire, bumped up to 52,000 damage, and he put it out right away. But this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize about fires, that you do start that get put out right away, you now just open them up to a huge potential damage. You'll see that he just got nailed there again in the fire. I'm guessing he's going to push out and he's going to try and YOLO rush. Unfortunately, I kind of fail at doing that. Back to what the ship cost is. For that 4,000 doubloons though, you also get 1,000 steel, or 1,100 steel if you have a top tier clan, and 10,000 coal, or 1,100 coal, or 11,000 coal if you have a top tier clan. What I mean by a top tier clan is where you have the coal port and the steel port fully maxed out. So essentially for 4,000 doubloons you get a decent tier 8 ship, which I would actually class as a tier 7.5 ship. It's definitely not the weakest tier 8 cruiser, but it's far from the best also. But you get a decent ship that I at least will play. You get 10,000 coal and 1,000 steel. Going back to the gameplay here, you can kind of see that I'm taking pot shots at the Johann de Witt. One of the other consumables that is available on this ship is the speed boost, and I would actually say that the speed boost, while nice, I would rather have hydro there. The speed boost does give you an 8% boost, so it's a pretty standard bog speed boost. It's nothing special like the Smalin that gets you a 30% speed boost. It does last for 120 seconds and has a reload time of 120 seconds, so it's a pretty square consumable. I will say this, there have been many Dockyard ships in the past that I have not liked. The ZF6, I like it, but it's definitely not like my go-to ship. I would rather play the Friesland or even now I'm blanking on it, the Kitakaze instead of the ZF6. And that's just tier 6, or that's just tier 9 destroyers. And as far as the Heisen in my opinion is absolute garbage. I've tried playing it. Unfortunately, it just with 410mm rounds, it just does not have the penetration to live up at tier 9. Which sounds odd considering that we have 406mm rounds in the US, but the US have those heavy AP rounds that pen everything. Literally with the Heisen, when I play the Heisen, I just load HE and just HE spam everything to death. Which if I'm going to HE spam everything to death, I might as well hop into the British line and get that super heal. So it really does not float my boat. Am I disappointed I got it? No. But am I disappointed in what the ship is? Yes. Going back here, you can see I tried using my drop on the Iowa there, and I kind of underestimated his location. I'm not going to do that again. I'm pretty sure he's going to sail right through it this time, but I do get my timing off. So you'll see he comes in, sails right through the middle of it, but my bombs will only hit his stern. Didn't even get a fire. But we are up to 73,000 damage, and that's nothing to shake a stick at in a Tier 8 cruiser. If I could get a 70,000 damage game every single time I took a Tier 8 cruiser, I would consider that a win. I would really be happy with that. The fact that I'm taking this out with a 14-point commander, this is my second or third battle in this ship, and I'm getting an 70 or 80,000 damage battle so far, that tells me that while this ship is tricky to play, it's not impossible to play. You can see I'm trying to fire through the gap here. We started out pretty strong. You can see we got the west side nailed down pretty easily, but this east side is definitely where much of the contention is. That Johann de Witt is going to become a pain in my butt here pretty soon. I throw another airstrike at the Iowa. I actually don't remember about this one. Let's see if it does anything. If it does, it's only going to hit his starboard flank there. And I do manage to get, that looks like 10 shots and a fire, only 6 penetrated. I am watching this on a very small screen that's very low def, so if I underestimate anything, I am sorry. I am literally trying to read it pretty far away.
Protect that area. Negative.
Continuing on here. So I can see the Iowa is charging around, and you can see that my front turrets indeed do turn 360 degrees, which makes it really nice when you're kiting away and when you're charging in to be able to have your turrets be able to fling around right there. And as you can see, this ship does have superior AA power as I shred the Johann de Witt's aircraft right there. Just to give you a little bit of context, the AA defense has a rating of 92 in the in port, 417 continuous damage, 1680 damage by shell explosions with 4 shells and a salvo. Just for a little bit of comparison, let's go over and look at the Cleveland. Cleveland has an AA rating of 77 with damage of 307 and a shell explosion of 1540 with 5 shell explosions and a salvo. Remember when the US used to be the leaders in the AA market and like nothing could compare to them? Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? That kind of dates me a little bit there. So it definitely has above standard AA, and that's definitely nothing to sneeze at, and it's definitely, this is probably one of the few ships that I would actually say you could build it for an AA cruiser and be comfortable. As you can see, I managed to land 2 more hits there, put on a fire, he immediately puts it out, and I was really worried about this King George V here because I was convinced the Iowa was just going to nuke him or ram him, and we'd just trade a higher health Tier 7 battleship, which is probably one of my favorite tech tree Tier 7 battleships, for a battleship at Tier 9 that was on its last legs. The Iowa is a really good battleship, but I did not want to just throw away my I did not just want to throw away a King George V that was at pretty full health to a Iowa that was struggling. As you can see, I throw out an airstrike here on the Johann de Witt, and every single time I use these airstrikes, I just imagine Snape sneering at me from Harry Potter. You dare use your own spells against me, Potter? I know I'm probably butchering that accent, probably worse than Dick Van Dyke, but at least I tried. As you can see here, this is where the airstrikes really come into their own. You just saw him drop all those bombs in the King George V. He just took off 20 to 30,000 damage off the King George V, and it's going to sink him right now. Can you name another cruiser that could do that with nothing but bombs? That, other than a Japanese cruiser with its torps, That is fantastic. Trying to get my eyesights on the Johann de Witt here. I need to get this ship out of here. It's me and the Iowa up off of C7, who is going against the Colorado and this. As you can see, I launched the airstrike. I'm assuming he's backing up, and I really don't want him to back up. I don't want him to get into a defensible corner where he's just bow into me. That's definitely going to give him an advantage that I do not want him to have. So I throw out my airstrike. Unfortunately, it hits nothing, which tells me that he's pushed forward. Coming in here, trying to get my bow in. I do not want him to nuke me. He throws his airstrike out. I kind of curve to the left a little bit to try and have it avoid me. I'm shredding down his planes. He is going to be able to get some off. His AP shells ricochet off, and he's beached himself. Okay. So I'm trying to keep my nose in. I don't want to get too close to him, but at the same time, I don't want to give him broadside. I'm kind of bringing myself around broadside, which I really don't want to do. He fires into me. Ooh, this is going to be close. This is going to be close, and let's slow it down. Oh, let's slow it down. Oh, this is where it all went belly up. Right there, you can see we barely brushed, and boom. Dang it. I was really disappointed in that. The Iowa did manage to sink the Colorado, but now it's the Iowa versus the Miyoku. And I'm going to tell the Iowa here to just hide. There's a minute and 50 seconds left in this battle. We are 500 points ahead. We do not need the C cap. Unfortunately, he does decide to push out, but I will kind of spoil the ending. We do end up winning. As you can see, I'm trying to take control of the free camera here. I'm still learning replay controls a little bit. You can definitely see that here. So the Iowa is just healed up. He's probably just used his damage control party. Is it going to be enough for him to win? Let's see. He's pushing into the C cap. There's Miyoku, whatever. Miyoku fires. I wish I could get my camera around. The Iowa's pushing up. He's trying to get around this island that's protecting from B to C. He's letting that fire burn. The Miyoku is a fantastic ship. I have no doubt. There, he just put the fire out. I have no doubt that in a one-on-one brawl, the Iowa would have lost this engagement. But what's going to happen? There are 4 scenarios that are going to happen. Either the timer's going to run out, we're going to hit 1,000 points, the Miyoku is going to kill the Iowa, or the Iowa is going to kill the Miyoku. Which one do you think is going to happen? I will say this, we do win, so that already leads one of those options out. The Iowa has his guns trained. Timer is ticking down 4, 3, 2, 1. And with 981 points to 537, that's it. Alright, let's go to the end credits screen. As you can see, we came away from that with 120,000 damage, 2 ships killed, 633,000 credits, 5.8 thousand XP, and 500 free XP. I don't even think I was running any flags on this ship. Moving on to the next one, you can see I'm top of the list there with 2,477 base XP. Nothing to sniff at there. That's a very good game for me. I am definitely a CV main, so that kind of helps. On to the next slide, you can see that I did 38,000 damage to the Iowa. I did 29,000 damage to the Johann de Witt. I did 25,000 damage to the Colorado, 18,000 to the Buffalo, 7,000 to the Edinburgh, which I actually thought was going to be higher since I nailed 2 citadels into him, and a meager 2,200 damage to the Amagi. I did manage to lose, I shot down 9 aircraft, and I managed to lose 34, which is kind of nice about this because you really don't feel the aircraft losses, which is both good and bad. It's good if you're in the cruiser. It's bad if you're fighting against the cruiser because it literally feels like there's nothing you can do to stop it. Moving on to the last slide here, you can see I made bank away with over 500,000 credits there after the service costs. 9200 Commander XP and my 8500 XP that I'm running away with there. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this battle. I would definitely say no matter what Dockyard event, no matter how bad the ship is, I would definitely say get it. Because at the end of the day, you are getting a premium ship that is 100% unique. It's probably never going to be available in the shop again. You're getting 1,000 steel, 10,000 coal, and that premium ship. You can't argue with that, especially if you play as much as I do, where you basically get the missions regardless. I do have a new microphone coming. I wish you guys would comment if this sound quality was any better or any worse. I do want to kind of do something about my computer because it is kind of loud, but I really don't know what to do. Anyway, take care, stay safe, and I will see you all next time.